shotgun start in golf is full of mathematics. There's a lot of setup work that we have to do in order to make a tournament work. So I'm going to demonstrate to you just exactly how we do a shotgun start here.
Here we go.
Hey. All right. Gentlemen, start your engine!
Greetings and welcome to a Monday edition of the Shotgun Start. It is July 20th. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, it's Victory Monday. What a great day. It is a real, oftentimes you wonder, but there's no doubt about it, a real proper player won this year's Open Championship. Ryan Fox, congratulations to one of the best guys in golf.
Proper player. What expand on that? Why a proper player? I think he's been easy to root for a while. He's been a fan, a podcast favorite for a while. Got to know him slightly, a little bit. Wouldn't say extremely well, but he's a good person. But why do we like his golf? For me, it's always been he's like the last world player, right? When everyone kind of became these monoliths, and we go to the PGA Tour and we make our money on the PGA Tour and we play. The guy has stuck to a semi. Now he's also had to adapt and do more PGA Tour golf. Plays a global tour. It's not quite Ernie Els in 2002 or whatever, or late 90s, but being from New Zealand and kind of paying homage to some of those locales, and then being a DP World Tour player deep into his 30s. You talked about I was a rookie on the PGA Tour at 37. DP World Tour rookie at 30 or whatever it was. He's been all around the world, and it just feels like a guy from a past that doesn't exist anymore, of having to play everywhere because that's what he wants to do or feels like he needs to do as a global golfer. And he won definitely the most global major in the world's major and unique major today. So that's probably some proper golf.
Yeah, true sportsman. Obviously, it got beat over his head, but son of an All Black. His mom was a great cricket player too, and
Mom's father, his grandfather was an amazing cricket player for New Zealand. Grandpa or father of a rugby player. Yep.
Didn't start playing golf, really even thinking about playing golf competitively till 18. That's amazing. He first played at 13, liked it, and was missing competition. So that's what spurred him into golf. And then, I think just like the pace of play, obviously his route to the top of the world is very different than most people. He's just not the cookie cutter PGA Tour out of the box player named Davis. That wasn't meant to be a shot at Davis.
Oh man.
But he just is and he's genuinely like a wonderful guy, like a guy that you'd love, having had a beer with him. He's just one of the few people on tour, not few, but probably a couple dozen people on tour that you could just sit at a bar and listen to stories all day from. So wonderful guy, and really fun to watch someone get it done that unexpectedly. And I think we've had two majors this year where you enter the back nine and it's really like anybody's game. And both times we've had players that, I think the betting public or the general public wouldn't have expected to rise to the occasion and win the tournament. Aaron Rai did it in emphatic fashion at Aronimink, really just taking the championship by the horns. And Ryan Fox did it despite a couple of bad breaks. He just hit wonderful shot after wonderful shot.
He's a friendly guy you can have a beer with in a bar. Now you're worried about bad breaks. Now you're fair policing. You're calling out bad breaks for guys that you could have a beer with. I feel like you're being partial.
Breaks, but he persevered. You see some people throw a hissy fit after what happened to him on 15. The tee shot on 17 was a tough situation. You wouldn't expect an iron to
Not
roll out
again.
that far, but it did.
Yeah.
He was played to play it short, and it's like, basically one revolution from stopping in the perfect spot and making it a shoe-in birdie. And I just think it was an awesome championship. Really fun, all in all. There's tons of chaos, couple rules controversies, and that just adds up to
Not at all. Today it's a clean drop, totally clean drop, properly applied. We're gonna get to Scottie, which I'm sure you're wound up about. I agree. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, finish. Great championship.
But yeah, you love a late bloomer. Late bloomers are sometimes the best stories. 39 years old, wins his first major championship, and a couple years ago, he got completely shadow banned by the PGA Tour from the President's Cup team when he should have been ranked in the top 30. I think that was for the Royal Melbourne one.
He's always been sort of caught between tours. Like,
yeah, he was on the PGA Tour.
Yes, which is kind of feels like a hole in the President's Cup. If an international player who is not enough of your kind of tour member, kind of a hole. Seems like a problem.
It's funny. I played a round of golf with him in LA. And the reason I was playing a round of golf with him was because he was sitting in LA waiting, hopefully getting into Riviera as the 33rd ranked player in the world. And he didn't get into Riviera. So he was playing golf with a bum podcaster.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought this was a great championship. I thought this was a really fun Open. I felt like today, sometimes I feel like this is kind of a slog or drudgery, or it's always like a privilege to be out there. And I spoke of that when I walked in for the first time at the start of the week, of like how special it feels to just as an American to get over here to this Open that can feel at times unattainable and far. And so like you're privileged to be here from the beginning. And at no point today did I feel like there isn't enough juice. We don't have enough going on. We don't have it's a little slow. I think there was some at the start concern about like who might win and how they might win. Would it be boring? Would there be some duds on the leaderboard? I thought between the Bryson stuff, Scottie today, the manic pace on the leaderboard, and it wasn't paced by birdie shooting ahead with birdies for, I thought, a good chunk of the afternoon. It seemed like Cam Young was going to win by just being in the clubhouse at 9 under, and nobody was going to really he's going to do two press conferences. He did his post round, and then he was going to have a winner's press conference 2.5 hours later. I thought Birkdale, just for we'll get to some of the changes and comments about those, but I thought Birkdale, just conditions wise, it was beautiful the whole week. It was baked out. It was sunny. Required a certain amount of skill, and definitely today as the wind picked up a little bit. Overall, I thought it was a fabulous Open championship. I don't know if it was like the best ever, but if you're giving it pass fail, it's passing with flying colors. And for the content game like that we're in, and just amusement and entertainment, it was pushing upwards of like a B+ or an A-, like a really fun Open championship for all that was baked into the stew.
Totally agree. And I think it was fun that we got a little win today, and that the kind of dynamic of the tournament changed, where it became really tough. And, the first 3 days, it was like, who's going to go out there and get it? Who's going to go out and shoot the 62? Who's going to shoot the 65? Who's going to shoot those low numbers and jump up the board? And today, outside of Cameron Young, really nobody put together a really great round. And it was more hang on for dear life. And you saw that with all the guys that when they made the turn, and Cameron Young, he post 9, and it felt, man, if he would have gotten to 10 by that time, you were like, and he even said it, I would like to be even a couple more than 10. At that point, it felt like, 11 or 12 was going to get it done. But, it just proved, I think it would have been really, I think you got a little bit more wind today than you had the last few days, but it just shows what that golf course would have played like with the conditions it was in, with how firm and how fast it was. If they had that traditional Open Championship win all week, it would have been a very, very, very high scoring week.
I thought it was a great venue. I thought it set up great for what they wanted. Now back to Ryan Fox. Overall, very positive feelings coming out of this Open Championship. Back to Ryan Fox. That, you might not be as familiar with him as you are with some young star, a Cameron Young, a Ludwig, maybe Sam Burns if you're American. He's easy to root for. I think if you watch this, dude, he did not shrivel up and shrink. I loved hearing him talk about, I'm on the 18th hole and I talked to my caddy, Dean, and he's like, I'm going to go and get it. Like, hard ass hole. The birdie in the last three, he didn't birdie, not birdie 17, but 16 and 18 to be the two is kind of the reverse of what you would expect, right? And to win it, we saw Cameron Young, you just talked about he almost hold out from the bunker to stay at 10 for a par. A lot of bogeys, only 5 birdies before Foxy came through at 18. He said, we're going to take this on, and I'm going to try and win the tournament, and I will live with the consequences if I stuffed it up. To go out there and execute, the drive is not comfortable, and to hit it in the fairway and give myself a chance was huge. He said they got to 12, and he's like, well, we got to get 3 more. And this was as it was getting windier and a little more challenging in the dunes on those that more elevated back there, dipping between the dunes. And he didn't get just 3; he got 4. He got 4 birdies, and like a bogey quote save. He talked about how that might have been more important than any of the birdies. Is how, which he said he felt better walking off there with the bogey that he made than maybe if he had walked off there with a par, which is kind of like, you would be like on paper 1 shot better. So but in terms of vibes and juice, saving that bogey after getting a little bit jammed in the bunker, he said he was short by a yard, missed it. It was a good shot. It wasn't like he just hit a poofy or shanky shot. He had a great shot that he missed by a yard, and then he saves the bogey coming out backwards. I just can't. If you love golf and sports, you have to be fired up. 4 birdies in the last 6-7 holes.
I think if you look at his last, we'll just say 4 holes, 15. You could go back though. You could go back to 14 or 13, wherever you want.
Yeah.
You go back all the way to 13. I don't think he missed a shot. I think he hit every shot exactly how he wanted to hit it. That shot on 15, where he made a bogey, in order to hit that green, you had to take on all the risk, which he did. And he came up literally probably a foot, 2 feet. If he carries the ball 2 feet further, he's got like a dead red birdie look, Yeah. And that could have just been a misjudge. The shot on 17 that yielded a par instead of a birdie was because his 2-iron or 3-iron, whatever long iron it was, rolled an insane amount, like an unfathomable distance, and just barely trickled into the bunker he was trying to avoid by hitting the long iron. The guy hit every shot out of the center. And I think, to your point, the resilience, the kind of the ability to accept the bad breaks and go hit great golf shots was just a championship moment. And I think that's where he kind of won everybody over is, he gets this terrible break on 15. And how many times have we seen people just ruined by this? And you make a double bogey there and you shoot yourself out of the tournament. But that up and down was awesome after he just, had to chip out. Getting up and down there, the putts he holed. You love when people go out in moments and make, big time players make big time plays. He went out and won the tournament, and it's from somebody that people probably didn't expect it, but he's won 20 times across the world. He's 39 years old. He didn't really start playing professionally till his mid-20s. The guy has done it everywhere he's gone. And it takes him a little while to get there. to get comfortable. But now we've seen this is his third win in the last 2 years.
Contains multitudes. I mean, he's won a Dunhill on a links course. He's won the Myrtle Beach Classic. Now he's won the Open Championship. Joins Lydia Ko, Bob Charles,
the Canadian Open and the Open.
And the Open. Michael Campbell, Lydia Ko, and Bob Charles as Kiwi New Zealand major winners. I think when he did make the birdie on 17, I was like, well, let's just hold on to your butts. It's like playoff at best, loss at worst. And what you're talking about, the resiliency there of like not getting the birdie, that feels like the best birdie chance of maybe getting jammed off the tee. To rebound with a tee shot, they were like debating, what's he going to hit? Is he just going to hit like a low sort of driving iron? And he goes for it all. And he said he had a great yardage on approach and stuck it to 10 feet. And then, I don't know, a birdie to win the Open in that arena is as good as it gets. And I think one thing, sort of with Aaron Rai, and I'm pretty sure Aaron Rai is definitely younger than Ryan Fox, I believe. But, there are major winners who there's probably guys that expect to win majors, right? And maybe they win them young and like, well, yeah, this is sort of the progression and this is my destiny. And this is like, and I don't want to say it means less at all, but there is sort of a sort of acceptance of like, this is what I should be doing. I think with like Fox and Aaron Rai, like you see that he's won all over the world, like you said, but he's also like, look, I just needed a tour to play on. It's a little different when he first came out. Like I almost quit. I thought about giving up golf on my second year on the Aussie tour. I kept missing cuts, and my dad came and caddied for me. I think it was the Aus Open, one of those, and or PGA. So is this game supposed to be fun? It's like it's supposed to be, but it's not. And you're talking about someone who's been through like ups and downs, who, quite frankly, he said until like this week, he was just talking with his team on Saturday night. Like when I turned pro, if you told me this was my career, I would have taken it in like a second, a heartbeat. Now, of course, I'll take the one I have with the major. I don't know. There's something just a little more gratifying seeing someone who, I don't want to say it means more to them, but it certainly resonates and carries a little bit more power than so. Like, I don't want to throw a name out there that'll just feel like I'm denigrating their major, but call it like Justin Thomas winning. Like that's like he expects, that's like his progression, and it means a ton to him. But I think like that's just a mini takeaway I'll have from someone like Ryan Fox, and Aaron Rai winning majors this year.
I mean, to echo that. So when I played golf with him, so it was 2024. It's February. He's at this point, top 40 player in the world, but he's playing off of. So he had gotten screwed over by Adrian Marunk, who had earned the #1 spot on the DP World Tour list.
What a set!
And because of when he went to live, he didn't get knocked off it. So Fox was the #2 guy on that list. But like if you were #1, you got a lot more benefits than if you're #2, but the tour didn't reshuffle it up, right? So this is like the 35th ranked player in the world. And I'm like, and I think he had just had his first kid. And we're talking, and I'm like, so what's the plan? He's like, my wife and kid have just been traveling with me, and this was before the Florida swing. He's like, I'm excited to get to Florida because we have just this like Airbnb rental house that I booked, and we're going to live out of that for like the next, couple months. And you think about, this is one of the 50 best players in the world at that time. And his whole future in life is in flux as to whether, like, he doesn't know where he's going to play. He doesn't know where he's going to live. And, and at that time, like, he did not have a good start to his U.S. pro career. He really didn't have a very good start until last year when he won he was playing the Myrtle Beach, opposite field event last year. He won that. And then he wins in Canada, and it kind of reasserts him as this, player that gets into all the top tier events. But you think about this whole journey, and this is This is a guy that's in his mid-30s who's in the top 50 in the world, but his entire future and like understanding of where life was in a moment where you want to have like a solid structure of life with a young kid is completely in flux. And I think that's like kind of the ebbs and flows of his particular career that is fascinating to me, is that, you know, every time he goes to a new tour, there's like a dip and then a rise back up. And, you know, he's just a competitor. And I think you saw a lot of guys fade in the moment. And when you know, if you go watch the clip I posted from when I had him on the Fried Egg Pod earlier, what he said, he turned to golf because he missed competition. He was missing competing. And if I said the one quality, he hits it far, he hits it good, he putts it good, he's got a, you know, serviceable short game. The number one quality that came out on the back nine today was he competed harder than I think almost everybody else on that board.
Through bad breaks, through wind, just played his nuts off when it mattered, and when it in a place where a lot of players were not doing so. I thought it was interesting with his lineage. Obviously, like, he's a late bloomer on golf, or an atypical path to golf, but like, can we not make no mistake about this? Like, he comes from like insane athletic stock. So like, you know, it's not like exactly, well, he was working with like a lot of full deck to begin with. It's not, no matter when he took up golf, like, he also has a very unique genes that he was working with that not everybody can just say, you know, take it up when you're 17. So,
I've been told by numerous people, he always downplays his dad. And in New Zealand, his dad is like a god.
Yeah. I thought he had some cool quotes about, like, look, I think he might have had concussion issues. Is that like he was like targeted for being, you know, this legend's kid, right? In rugby and contact sports. And I thought it was interesting that he's like, there was never any pressure on me. There was no pressure from my parents to be like, you know, essentially Bronny of rugby. I don't know that LeBron put that on Bronny. I don't want to go there. LeBron's a perfect human being in my world. But
it's a big Cleveland Cab, it sounds like.
Yeah. But
how about Luca out there from out of the LeBron shadow, out there watching golf this
that was
week?
kind of random. That was weird. Oh, why is he at Birkdale?
We talked about that yesterday.
Some chap with the accent I could not understand at all kept asking me if he was out there today. Go, Luca Doncic, and I was, who? What? Luke? And finally he's like, the NBA player, and I was like, no, I don't think he's back for a second day. Anyways, he just said he had no pressure from his parents to be like, I have to do rugby because my dad was a rugby, or my grandfather was a cricketer, and I need to be a cricketer. And that's kind of the ideal way to grow up. And he obviously had incredible genes he was working with. A couple more foxy cleanup things. He obviously picked up strokes on every single shot on 18, which is amazing, like a good chunk of strokes. Said his nerves, his hands were shaking. I'm talking about a competitor who's also feeling it, like his pant legs in the wind. See my pant legs flap. That's how my hands were. I think he said that on Sky. Said his recovery at 15 won him the championship. He talked about the one thing with his dad. He's like, my dad is awful when he's not in control. Like when he's not the person on the athletic field, like he's a disaster, like a mess. So I'm sure he was a mess when he can't have control. I'm like that. I mean, obviously, we probably all are, right? We're watching our kids than playing.
I noticed this with caddying. If I like caddy for a friend in an amateur event, I'm more nervous than if I'm playing.
Yeah. He had some good stuff about links golf too, because he'd won the Dunhill. Just like hitting improper shots. What did you think was his like best shot? Was the birdie on 16, nutting up on 16 after the 15?
You know, it's hard to say what the best shot was. I think you could make a real case for the chip on 15. The chip shot on 15 or the chip shot on 14. I mean, The chip shot on 15 so hard because like your world's spinning, you know,
You're on the
after you get the
fritz.
bad break, you've worked your ass off to get into the lead, you know, and you know at that point that you're giving it away and you're going to have to work your ass off again to get back there. And for him, I think that chip, he had all the green in the world to work with, but it's such an easy chip to leave 15 feet short and to be able to hit that to where it was easy up and in. And then I think the other shot that, there's a couple shots. I mean, the shots that stand out to me are the second shot on 17. That would have been like a really easy place to hit a really bad shot, just because of how awkward that was. And then the tee shot on 18. I thought the tee shot
It's a
on
lot
18,
of shots. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. That's what I said though at the beginning. Is
Yeah.
from 13 on, he didn't really miss.
You know, I didn't see where his second shot on 17 ended up. I saw where it ended up, and I come up there and I watch him. I didn't see him hit because I just decided to look down.
And because he hits so fast.
That's what I wanted to bring up. Like, everybody's talking about it. When you're there in person, it's insane how fast he's playing, whether it's putting and definitely on the shots, the wedges. What a weekend for the rules of golf and pace of play. The nature may be healing. We may be shouting about it and tweeting about it for the better part of 10 years. And just had our weekend in the sun with boys manipulating their lives and matting things down, and then pace of play being rewarded justly in the end. Incredible stuff. He's so fast.
We'll get to the coverage, but NBC on 18, they had no shot at setting up the moment because he hit it so fast. No leg up tweeted he hit the putt in 22 seconds, and then followed up with I can't even get a tweet off in 22 seconds. And he had a putt to win it. But yeah, he's amazing. It's amazing how fast he is.
It's like you're always between one or two clubs, and the shot you got to hit, and it's like I see shot and I hit the shot, and that's how I work, and that's how the brain operates, and just I don't need to overthink it. It's maybe a lesson for all of us. You don't have to be that fast, but it's don't need to overcomplicate things.
Hey, let's bring in KVV, who was out following the final group.
Let's get him in here.
Hello, boys. How are you?
How's
Kevin,
the media
how you doing?
center dining? You ready for it to be over? The dream week.
I heard a rumor that some reporters had to take down some tweets about the media center dining.
Put this out there. There's the sensitivity that's now present about the dining.
Can I just? I heard rumors. You can confirm or deny. I heard rumors of lasagna today in a touching tribute to Sergio Garcia.
Oh, I'll send you.
I walked past there briefly. There was some steak pie. I did have my first steak pie of the week. It was good. I will say that today the food was marginally better. But Brendan and I found the secret taco truck out there.
Terrible. Don't give it that much credit.
Listen, you know what? I think I will say this. There's always a choice at major championships about who you're going to follow. And it's very hard to figure that out. Brendan and I went out. We watched Cam Young on 18. We watched him hit that chip that, God, it looked like it was going in the entire way. I could just imagine PJ Joseph dying as it was creeping towards the hole. And then after Cam made that bogey, we kind of had a discussion. We were like, well, where do you want to go? I was like, well, you should take Scottie and I'll take Sam Burns, I guess. And as I was walking away, as I got to Foxy and Burns, and the Scottie thing started happening on the other side of the course, and I knew Porath was there. I was really happy for him, but I was so jealous. I was like, man, he got the good end of the draw. This is so unfair. And it prompted a whole discussion with me and Shane Ryan of Golf Digest about, have you ever been to a major and missed like the really cool thing? Like you just were somewhere else on the course, whatever. And I spent like a whole hole kind of sulking. I got there right at 11 when Fox made a bogey from hitting kind of a weak shot right, and he couldn't get up and down, and Burns wasn't doing anything. And I was like, man, this group has no juice. This stinks. And then it just all hell broke loose, and I was like, well, this is awesome. I absolutely got the best end of the deal. So it was a really fun like final hour, but I was briefly like, man, this stinks. Brendan got all the good stuff.
I mean, you inevitably, when you go out, no matter what, because there's always lulls in golf rounds, where the players you're watching are making pars. No matter what, when you're looking at the leaderboard, you're getting FOMO that you're not somewhere else at all times, and it takes real perseverance and patience to see your task out.
Stick with it. I was thinking about when we sent PJ to follow Ben Griffin at the Ryder Cup, and then it was like all coming down to PJ's match. I thought, well, maybe this is my moment here, So,
and it did. It turned out to be that.
It did. You got it. Kevin, I thought like you couldn't really go wrong today, and we'll get to your. I felt like I had a Forrest Gump kind of day where I was just dropping. This was such a fun day. Tommy Fleetwood
got Patrick Reed in the beginning.
I got scene of Tommy Fleetwood. I talked to Patrick Reed for his takes on Bryson. Like Rory, I got Scottie up and down. Scottie on the front, Scottie on the back at the right time, and then we got Burns and Foxy. I don't know. I thought there was a ton of stuff out there, and that's why I thought it was a good championship. Following the final group, what stuck out to you?
I think it was. Sometimes it's hard to see like what's going on, especially in Birkdale, because the dunes are kind of everywhere, and so they make you stand in these awkward places sometimes where you can't quite tell. And so on 15, it was really unclear like how bad his shot was. And Foxy had a great thing in the press conference afterwards, and he was like he was kind of on the same line. He couldn't quite tell like how bad it was, and he said he could see Thomas LeVay up there and Radar Riley, and he could see them like walk into the bunker. And he's like, usually when the on-course reporters they walk past the bunker, if they just look down and keep going, you're fine and you're good. And he's like, I saw like LeVay get down in there and then like stop and then like really look down in there. And I was like, I said to my caddy, I was like, oh, this is bad. We're in bad shape here.
Like but like stance, trying to figure out how to stand. Tough stance.
And then just like so fast. I mean, there was so many decisions throughout that final round where I was like, this would add another 30 minutes or 40 minutes to this round if this were anyone else. But he would just literally step up and, take one look and take a swing. And the shot that he hit, into 13 when he made birdie there was really, really great. I mean, he hit a monster drive down there. And the chip, I mean, I was like, I could barely get into position sometimes before the ball was already flying across the green with both him and Burns. And the last putt, I think I'll remember forever because it was truly like the crowd had not stopped clapping for Burns's putt when the winning putt, like, I mean, nice of Burns to putt out and let, clear the stage and basically be like, here, you have a chance to win the Open Championship. So I'll clean up my par putt, which is probably worth like, $1 million. I'll just kind of clean that up. And then the ball was like, it was one step in and it was going towards the hole. And I was so kind of like golf can be such a mental thing, and you watch so many players agonize over it, think through it, and it just was so refreshing to see someone who absolutely was like, you know what, fate's going to decide this either way, so let's just go.
There's something to every sport. Everybody talks about how tough golf is, and I think like one of the reasons that golf is so difficult compared to a lot of other athletic endeavors is it's not reactionary. Meaning like it's not like ball coming at me, make a split-second decision and react, right? And golf is this thing where you have time to think about it. He's talking about the ball going in the bunker and knowing it might be a bad shape because of the way the on-course reporters looked at it. And you think about like golf, like in terms of it gets more and more difficult the more you dwell over things. And his kind of idea of looking at it, getting the number, figuring out what it's going to be and pulling the club and hitting, like kind of takes some of that out of it.
Yeah. He had a great quote early on in the press conference today where he said, I didn't know how I was going to feel today. And like early on in the round, I turned to my caddy and I said, I kind of feel better than I thought I might feel. And he just kind of kept getting more and more comfortable. But at the same time, he was really honest about that putt on 18. He was like, I had no feeling in my hands. They were shaking the way that my pant legs were shaking, blowing in the wind. That's how much they were shaking. And I have no idea how I hit that putt straight. But I just sent it towards the hole, hoping that I wouldn't have a putt that was that far coming back if I missed. And it was pretty cool to see it go in. I thought, holy cow! Like what a way to win an Open Championship, man. You know what? Bob Herrick, I have one more thing about this. Bob Herrick told me a great stat. He's the 13th straight first-time Open Championship winner. It dates all the way back to Ernie Els that we had someone win the Open Championship who had not won it previously.
2012, Ernie Els at Lytham.
I mean,
That's
really
interesting.
the last great Open player.
That's what
That's
I hear.
fascinating.
Why is he playing, Andy? He should be here. Firm and fast. He could have contended here.
He's got more important things to do, like
Building courses in Portugal or something
no.
like that. Or
work on his foundation. He's doing
picking grapes. Yeah.
Okay.
Watching his peers light themselves on fire is what Ernie's doing.
Kevin, what else from your day out there following the last group? We should just do away with Burns now, or talk about Burns, I should say.
Yeah.
Well,
Foxy,
you bring us to our first storyline that nobody's talking about.
What, Sergeant Sam? What happened to Sergeant Sam? Oh God,
Deputy behavior.
Did you demote
Burns
him?
struggles in his first start with his new role and responsibilities.
Young deputy needs to grow into the job.
It was there for him. Like, come on. He
So
started
there.
a 2-shot lead. We all said on this podcast last night, I think we all picked Sam Burns. We're like, look, he's played extremely well in multiple Sundays. He just hasn't started from the lead. He's doing it, starting from the lead and showing his mettle on Sundays. That's a good combo. And no, he did not play his best. Kevin, I know you tweeted about it, but Foxy was effusive in his praise for Burns. Said, like he's like one of the best kids or best players. They're both fast. Both played really fast. So like his time will come. This was after his press conference. Foxy was like, look, he will absolutely get one. Anything about Burns either impress you or kind of leave you wanting?
I mean, it just was a true class acts tour. I mean, when's the last time you saw a major champion make a winning putt, and then the first person that he celebrates with is the guy who, he didn't celebrate with his caddy, like, he literally just goes over there, and Burns is like literally like clapping as the putt kind of, as he's walking towards it. Like, I thought it was cool that Sam was able to sort of recognize how cool that moment was, almost like he had become a fan in that moment, and just be like, man, a guy just made a putt to win the 10-footer or whatever, to win the Open Championship. I'm going to give him his love, even though I'm feeling absolutely devastated. And I think some of the scenes when guys lose the Open Championships are the most real and human in all of sports. So I watched him and Cam Young like kind of walk away and sort of let it all settle in. And it was almost kind of haunting, man, because it's like Cam Young, you probably saw the clip of him on the driving range, like when he heard the huge roar go up, and he just sort of quietly like put his head cover back on his driver and kind of shook hands with a few people and then just started walking away. And it's like, what a hard thing to have to swallow, knowing that you had a chip that was, an inch away from straight up probably winning the Open Championship, and now you don't actually even get to have a playoff. It was unbelievably like real, I think is the way I would describe it.
It's a long walk in view from the home scoring area all the way back to their like temporary locker room, and he was fine. I just looked like sort of kind of slunking away, and felt bad for him. Burns allegedly was emotional again in scoring or on the TV broadcast, which we didn't see. So, all right, Kevin, anything else?
I think though, with Burns and Cam, who've now both had real close calls multiple times, kind of the imparting message is always, and it's got to be what Rory said after LACC, is I'd take a million Sundays like this.
100 Sundays like this. One of my all-time favorite quotes. Like this,
because it hurts. And like the thing about golf is there's these just like micro moments, and you just will sit and stew with them for, for Burns and for Cam Young, for Lucas Herbert. Like, there are going to be these moments from this tournament that they think about for like the rest of their life, like decisions, shots, bounces. But this is all like you just want to have a ticket and be in the dance at the end, and have a chance for you to hit the shots. And for Burns today, just didn't feel like he ever hit the shots that we've kind of started to become more accustomed to seeing him hit on Sunday, especially at Shinnecock. And I thought the one, where he just couldn't get the putts to follow, but like the shot he hit on 15 could have been that like kind of lightning rod moment that sparked him, but then he doesn't make the putt. And that's like the tricky thing. And we saw Scottie do it all week long, is hit the shots, but you have to pay him off in golf. And that's what Ryan Fox did, was he paid off all of really the big moments coming down the stretch with the exception of 17. Every time he had a chance, he saw blood in the water and he struck.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. He went out and won the damn tournament.
I think the only takeaway I would say about Burns just is like, we always hear is like the best is the best putter on the PGA Tour. This guy, like he's really great at putting. And it just feels a lot like that doesn't show up on Sundays at a major. And that's the one thing that's like, it's almost like the expectations are set for like, man, when are you going to make one of these like huge putts? And, maybe, I didn't follow the final round of the US Open. I was with Wyndham and Scottie, but it just felt like, I don't know. That's what I kept thinking all day. My other takeaway, Brendan, is just like Birkdale's a great open venue. I think from everything from like the train station is literally right here. Like there you get a lot of fans. There's walkable things within town. Like we get an exciting Open Championship. I didn't love that there was so many like 62s, but I think overall, like Birkdale's really held up in history as like a good place to hold an Open, and I'll be ready to come back here in 10 years.
Every version of Birkdale, we'll see. Be a new version.
Real quick, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this. I think not enough. I've just seeing the early discourse has been made of Fox backing up his 62 on a really hard day with the 68, shooting 130.
That was the one thing I wanted to bring up. Is I'm glad you did. It's like when we see those 62s, it's kind of like, all right, cool, nice. I mean, it's Ricky at the first round of LA. It just feels like sort of a footnote in a week or a memorable like trivia question. And yeah, it's a great point, Andy. Is that like he converted on the 62, and that to me is sort of the payoff of those last 6 holes.
Yeah.
And then Burns, obviously he had the 62 on Friday, 65 on Saturday, and then it's kind of what we said on last night is, the Burns' challenge is like, can you shoot another good round? Like, could you shoot another 68? What he needed was a 70 to be in the playoff. But it's a tall task. Like, it's hard to play, unless you're Tommy Fleetwood, shoot 4 rounds in the 60s.
4 rounds in the 60s. I was going to say, only player in the field to break par every day.
Tommy and
moral victory. Storyline nobody's talking about is Fleetwood inspires generations to come with this birdie on 18.
Walk-off birdie. There you go. What's wrong with that? Hey, to that point, in the Rory quote, about 100 Sundays or 1,000 Sundays like this, I mean, do you think that's a universal mindset? I think Rory's pretty unique in his resilience or optimism. I don't think he's completely unique, but I think some guys are broken by the chances at winning and don't want that anymore or don't approach that anymore. And I'm not saying that's Cam Young or Sam Burns in this instance, but I don't know if that's a constant.
Brendan, I talked to Billy Foster today for a thing that we're going to write next week. This was his 41st Open as a caddy. And so we were talking through some of the stuff, and he said, he took me through like losing the Open Championship with Thomas Bjorn. And he was like, it haunts me to this day. I think about it every day. And I was like, whoa, that is like such a real honest quote. And I think that's totally true. Some guys never get over it when it goes away. Obviously that's a caddy, but man, that's what makes the kind of tension coming down the stretch so compelling, because one guy's going to be devastated and sitting alone in his car an hour from now and just be like, what happened? How did it all go wrong? And someone's going to have their name on a trophy that's been around for 150 years.
With that moment, right? And this is just a universal golf thing. This is what everybody who plays golf, and even just in a match with buddies, it feels pretty much the same. It feels like maybe just like slightly different if you're in the mix, but you're standing over putts that matter coming down the match, and you don't want to lose your buddy. Is like, those are the moments. That's what makes golf incredible. And it's, it is like accepting, like there is like a certain mindset that you have to take on those moments where you have to say like, okay, I'm here. And like one thing I thought about Fox with his press conference talking that was like great advice for everybody was he's like, probably saw how deep I was breathing throughout it. It's like, It is just about making sure you're breathing deep, making sure you're wiggling your toes, and more importantly, our understanding of the moment and your ability to do something great in the moment, rather than loathing and thinking about the things that can go wrong in the moment. And it's such a hard thing and it's, doubt. God, doubt is just an enemy of everybody in all aspects of life, but golf more so than anything else is just riddled. Like everywhere you turn, your head is riddled with doubt.
Yep. Good. Well said.
All right, Kevin, you're going to be writing eloquently about Ryan Fox tonight and other things of our experience from at Birkdale. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe to the Friday newsletter. I do know Kevin and I will be on our way to Heathrow tomorrow in a nice little Mercedes-Benz. Foxy, when he finished up, said, this was off to the side, the scrum after his press conference was done. He goes, what are you going to drink? It's going to be lots of red wine, he said, in the Claret Jug. A lot of red wine.
A lot of grape.
He did not say grape. He said red wine, like a normal human being. And so a lot of red wine. He said, I got a flight at 7 a.m. tomorrow or 7 tomorrow. He's like, I don't know if it's going to stay there. Might be changing. So I don't know what his mode or time of transportation will be tomorrow, but I do know, I think that Jug was going home tonight in a Mercedes-Benz, and you could check those out.
It'll be safe in it too, because of the MBUX AI driver profiles.
I wonder if the MBUX AI can tell if the oldest championship golf trophy is in the car and gets a little extra safe given some of the cargo. But from compact to powerhouse, Mercedes-Benz offers a variety of SUVs with flowing lines and precise edges, balancing elegance with aerodynamics. You can customize your driving experience through the vast array of interior and exterior options, or the hundreds of in-vehicle settings that can be personalized to best fit your needs. They have the MBUX AI learning capabilities that recognize your habits and driving preferences to create driver profiles unique to each driver. You can experience the power, precision, and versatility of Mercedes-Benz SUVs at mbusa.com. Enhance every aspect of your game with a Mercedes-Benz SUV. From the massage seats to ambient lighting, they level up every ride. They are proud to be an official patron of the Open Championship, and we thank them for supporting our work this week. Eggman, where do you want to go next?
I think we got to talk about what you witnessed, the sheriff Scottie Scheffler is going to kick himself about not winning this one.
I was walking with somebody else, and he hit it close at 9. And I was like, I got to go in. It's like, you don't want to stay here? It's like, I just watch him miss another 6-footer. And he did miss. He missed one on 8. He missed one on 9.
They were bad. I mean,
it did yesterday and had a chance. He had a chance in the final hour. Thanks a little bit to an all-world birdie. I was just hoping and praying that would end up being like even more consequential than it was. An insane birdie after hitting it off the planet at 17. He hits a drive that, it's cutting, he said, or slicing, and gets hung up in the rough, the schmutz going just short of a blowout bunker on a dude there on the left side. And he is hot. I was about 70 yards ahead on a forward tee, and I was looking forward at the drive out on the fairway. and I hear him screaming from 70 yards, like screaming in already the loudness of a tournament, whether it's ambient noise or fans. I was like, whoa, what happened there? You ended up catching it on Sky and tweeting it. So he gets hung up in the rough. He's not happy. The police were, they were, affecting, pepper spraying and they were pissed off at that point. The fair police, they were out there pepper spraying and using tasers when he got caught up in the rough on a why? How does that hang up? He's screaming.
It seems like him and Sam were talking about links golf all week together.
What do you mean? Just with the running theme of their comments?
Yeah, they're just probably were sitting in their rental house complaining all week.
Why? That's so unfair. Why do you think Scottie hates links golf or complains about it? He's the reigning Open champion.
He talked about he said all these drivers that should have been in the fairway that weren't.
He did say that. He can't
put the greens. Portrush to be at this point to the anomaly where, like, I felt going into Portrush, the real test was like, can you putt these links greens? And this year was like a huge step back in that, in terms of just, I don't know what it is about links golf and the greens. It seems like it really befuddles them.
Portrush does have some of the more, I don't know what I call like normal-ish. Yeah, like more akin to normal greens for him. Less linksy, even though it is absolutely a links course. So he's in a goofy spot. He's got to go for broke. He's going for broke, right? He needs to go. Birdie 16. Needs to go, in theory, maybe eagle birdie. Play like the last 4, get from 6 to 10. So he even talks about hitting driver off the deck. He gets out his club. I wouldn't say mashed down, but he put it behind the ball, the driver off the deck. He was very careful. I'm not alleging anything here. Don't giggle. And then he hits hits a wood, and it just is immediately miles left. I mean, Ted Scott comes running off the dune to like try and figure out where it's going.
Left of Bernie Sanders.
I was right there behind him, and I thought it was an illusion. Like, there's no way that went that way, that far. He hits a provisional, talking to the referee, and then goes and marching to his ball. And way left behind Claret's, the 2-story hospitality arrangement with some, I'm sure, no doubt, dopey slogan on the side of it about greatness lives in these dunes or something. And so he goes marching off. It was interesting. I don't know if this was on TV. He walked past his dad, who was right there in the crowd. And they had like a moment, like, ball's over here, right? And yeah, like nodded. I don't know what was said. And it was just like kind of a cordial, funny exchange. It's like his dad was one of the persons he walked right by. And then I was bouncing behind this hospitality suite, and we're like in amongst the kegs and these servers and these security guards who don't, like, all the fans are just like coming in because there's no security over there. And John Wood is up.
Great shot of the guy with the beer while they're making the ruling.
Yes. I mean, I was right there in it. And the rules official did a nice job. I thought we got a big commendation from the like chief referee, Mark Litton, who I talked to afterwards, for getting being expedient and getting the right rule down. So they find him. They do not find the ball. And he's talking to this referee who I think was Spanish, because he was talking Spanish with Jose Ballester earlier in the round. And Scott is chatting over things, and up in the schmutz, the thicket, is John Wood, and I think another person, a security guy, the usher, Brucey, who's had the last couple of years. And it didn't look like fun. Like, you're getting caught in the, bramble bushes. He goes, yeah, we don't want to find it. Stop, Woody, stop looking. We don't want to find it. And he says this on the record afterward, because if they find it, he then will have to take relief the nearer side of where the ball is, which would have been, I talked to Mark Litton, who was the same guy who was out there on 5 with Bryson on Friday. And Shackelford talked to him, was like, bet you're ready for this week to be over. This Litton guy's like, yeah, we're crazy week. And I talked to him. He's like, well, if they found it, he'd have to take relief on the near side. It would have been a shit show. It's in some schmutz over by 18, getting yardage, super blind, probably. Instead, they purposely stop looking for the ball. They do not find it, but they are, quote, virtually certain that it is in there. And if it is in there, then he would be.
It seemed like they were virtually certain it was in there and on the other side.
You mean where he would higher up, farther up towards the junk?
Yeah.
So because they're virtually certain it's there, he then gets the TIO relief as if it's there. But because it was not found, he can choose, or they choose the point of entry. Now, the point of entry is just a nice little wedge shot up to the elevated green. And of course, they take the drop to get on the other side of TIO. They find a nice little lie in the mix of hay. And Ted Scott was, calling the plays on the drop zone, where the little inch by inch centimeters to drop it. Get that hay out of there. Make sure it's not too sandy. And so they purposely don't look for it. They stop looking for it. He gets to pick the point of entry. He gets kind of pretty nice wedge shot line. Hits a great wedge shot to his credit and makes the putt and makes the 4. So he hit an awful, awful, awful shot into the miles left. And there's 0 penalty for it.
Not one shot, 2 shots miles left.
His provisional, which just who knows. And there's the problem is, like, on paper and sensibility, this doesn't seem quite fair. It doesn't seem justified. It doesn't seem commensurate with the shot. But he was bailed out by this TIO and this virtually certain rule. And then you have this extra seasoning of the don't look for it up that gets him a further advantage. And I think it just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. For me personally, being in the thick of it, like behind the hospitality and on top of him when he was making his drop and shot, it was delightful. I'll never forget it. And I was in and out of service, and I come back to you and Joseph texting like the end of the world is happening. And this Litton, the rules official, was like, he was incredulous, like he's one lucky boy. If they had not found it, like, he didn't say he was screwed, but it was going to be ugly. It was a way worse option going to the nearer side of where it was found from the TIO. It's like, he was like very happy. He should be very happy they didn't find it. And he gave the Spanish or the walking referee like a ton of credit for how fast he adjudicated and got it done and did the right ruling. It was the correct ruling on paper. Was it the correct ruling in spirit to you?
No, it was total disgrace. The fact that, like, I love that people are like, well, they found the ball and this was the drop. No, they didn't find the ball. They instructed him not to find the ball. And like, there is like this whole presumption of like, okay, like, we're going to assume it went in there. But then, the thing I found interesting is there's 2 drop points and we're just giving him the better drop point. If we're assuming when somebody hits it a mile offline that it went in to there, even though we haven't found it, okay, I think I might be able to get there. With that. We're just going to assume that it goes in there. But then to give him the good drop point, when he just hit one of the worst shots I've ever seen him hit in his life, to where it was like, oh, like if I had just laid up, I would have had an equally good shot. So I got basically a free attempt to hit it at the green and try and hit it in 2. And instead, I get over there and I get this free drop point. The drop point should have been in the bad spot. And I don't know. I'm curious if Bryson had done the same thing. What do you think the reaction would have been? This is what Joseph and I were wondering.
I kind of think they did everything right on paper. I think TIO is sort of a disgrace and has been.
TIO is such a disgrace.
That's sort of the issue. And you're bailing him out. Like, he didn't lay up because he has to go for broke. That's the context. He has 2 holes left in his championship, and he thinks he has to get to 9 or 10 under. And so he's going for it. And that's why he doesn't lay up to the wedge shot that he ended up getting. I think if Bryson was doing it, we would have been. Weren't people furious about this? Am I misreading the reaction? Weren't people really upset about it? I think we would have been doing the same, but it wouldn't have been untoward or illegal. They did the right thing. I don't think it would have been changed much. It would have been like, oh, maybe more people who hate Bryson would have been like that lucky SOB and stuff like that. But I don't think it would have changed much. It sounds like, were people furious on Twitter?
I think people
and
were furious. I think they. I don't know if Bryson would have gotten the same treatment. I think the whole drop thing. I think the double assumption is such bullshit, frankly speaking. So we're just going to take some volunteer's word that it went in here. Okay, I'll accept that. But we're also going to assume that it went in on the point that's most favorable to the player is total horseshit.
It's not as bad as the one at the Sony.
If
when
you
the
don't
person was trying to backboard and they sent it over the backboard.
If you don't find it, you should have to go to the bad area. Is the way the rule should work.
You hit a ball so bad it was lost.
My other question about TIO is why is the lost ball rule null and void?
That's the question that needs to be asked. Yeah.
Actually have a way better chance of finding it if you hit it into TIO than if you hit it into a gorse bush. But if I hit it into a gorse bush, I get a lost ball, even though I saw it go in there. I don't get a free drop out of a gorse bush. Like that's I have no issue with what Scottie Scheffler did. I have a lot of issue with the rule and how it's always administered in pro golf. And we saw that the way that unfolded almost completely changed the championship, where a competitor hit one of the worst shots of their career, made a terrible decision, hit one of their worst shots of their career, and then was rewarded with a simple pitch and putt birdie that then gave him a chance to win the Open Championship.
I mean, that was the context as well. Of he cashed in on it, and we don't know that 10 is going to win. We think holy shit, this might be one of the worst shots of his career that could lead to him at least getting to a playoff. Yeah, it was a circus, and I'm glad we got a dose of it. We needed an injection of that kind of intrigue, anger, furor, and debate and drama in the final round.
Overarching on Scottie though, what a rough week. The sad thing too is he's about to go on a tear. He's hitting it good.
Barnstorm through.
He's gonna win a bunch more, but what a tough spot here for Scottie going Bagel Boy. It makes the Scottie Scheffler, honestly, it makes Scottie Scheffler way more interesting that he did not get a major this year.
If for some reason you still have Scottie available in one and done, I think the 3M is setting up wonderfully. I think the irons are dying.
Save it for the $25 million FedEx Cup events too. Maybe
that's true.
He's gonna go and make hay there. Scottie had some comments too as well after the round. He said, "We need to be policing guys about the Bryson drop a little bit more. I think we need to be a little bit more strict in the way that we are policing guys, because think then he like swerved out of his way to say Bryson's not a cheater. We'll talk about Bryson. We'll clean up there a little bit. But why are all these guys like? I mean, you talked about it last night. Rory sort of putting it out there. I'm saying, I'm not fond of Bryson. I think he did what he did. I think he's performative in the way he acted on Friday night. Why do these guys feel like they need to go out of their way to defend Bryson? Not defend, but just throw an extra cookie to Bryson DeChambeau and say he's never been a cheater. I've known him my whole life. It's not his nature. Like, it's unsolicited. Just give and take. Let's be honest with. Can we just be honest with ourselves? A lot of people don't like Bryson DeChambeau on tour and otherwise. They think he's a phony, and they might be right. And we could just say that. And that doesn't mean he's a bad golfer or necessarily even a bad person, but he's inauthentic. And for our sake, it's hilarious. I find it comical when he does these, he goes through these phases of, just I'm the people's golfer now. Or there's a grievance golf. Like, he's a phony. And I just, one of the biggest, most symbolic things of the weekend was I saw he threw a ball to a kid walking from 9 green to 10, Bryson, yesterday. And the kid got the ball. And this camera guy for either Sky, NBC, or Open or something went to him and made him stage this scene of like, smile, hold the ball, and the cameraman is like tilting the ball perfectly in his hand with like, I don't know, so you can see it, the logo or something. And smile. You have to start smiling and wave right now. Start smiling and wave. And the camera. And it felt like so a piece of the Bryson thing because it was just completely manufactured. And it wasn't Bryson himself making all this up, but this is the Bryson verse where everything feels a little manufactured. I just felt unnecessary for Scottie, who I think clearly seems upset that they're not policing this more strictly, whether he thinks Bryson did intentionally or not, to go out of his way to just defend him all the time. Bryson's great. I think he's for content, but like clearly he's just.
It's the pros way of the Larry David having said that, where you start with like, I'm a huge fan. Bryson, this isn't in the spirit of Bryson. Having said that, Bryson would never cheat. Having said that, we need to police more. This is a way to cover bases. None of these people want awkward moments in the locker room.
That's the thing. Why can't, like, if everybody feels not everybody, if you feel a certain way, why do you go out of your way to say the opposite? At least just be moot. It's bizarre. Anyways, do you think any of this starts to compound with Scottie? The, T3s, the T5s at majors, the ball that gets cut up in the rough, the one bad hole, there's a bad shot, get a bad break, and these are all these close but no cigars.
I do. I think this is the way that droughts start happening. Winning seems so easy until it isn't. And I think he's in this phase of like, okay, there's so many close calls. Like it could go two ways, right? It could just be like a blip on the radar, or it could lead to him winning way less frequently. I mean, it's crazy to think the guy, after the last 2 years, has only won once this year, given how often he's been in the mix. I mean, he's just been sloppy too. Like, let's call a spade. Like, he hasn't hit the shots that we've grown accustomed to him hitting in the moments he needs them, whether they're putts or whether they're the great drives that like take advantage of the par fives. Like I think that today was his first birdie on 17 all week. Or maybe it was 5th. I can't remember if it was 14 or 17 that he hadn't birdied all week. He had played one of them, one over to date. And you just think about it. It's like that's not Scottie's recipe for just demolishing these fields. He's just been a little off. He's still the best player in the world, and he's still the most consistent player in the world. But This is the way that mental scar tissue. I think like that's the thing that I marveled at last year was these moments where he could develop scar tissue never happened. He would always win. This year has been just moment after moment of heartbreak and scar tissue. Like he has to feel this one, I would guess, hurts more than any other one this year, because this one, he absolutely was the best player tee to green in the field.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple different ways to feeling close. I thought U.S. Open was a little alarming because it was the first time he was ever just like totally a passenger, like never close. Just a guy that was a passenger for Wyndham Clark. This was the other way, whereas like, you know, he's kind of in the battle all the way around, even with the drop. A very interesting examination as we go to Masters next year. Could win 5 times between now and the Masters. Who knows? Could win 6 times, 8 times. I don't know. But yes, that he's now at a stage where that's sort of, I don't want to say we completely judge him by the majors, but those are the big deals for him, for someone of that caliber that wins that much. Any Rory cleanup you want to go through? Sort of the other top player in the world of this era. What's storyline nobody's talking about?
Storyline nobody's talking about. Rory. He's an important role this week. Lead negotiator. He finishes T40, but he plays a pivotal role in freeing the Open from hostages. I have to say, with Rory, I thought this week was like the short misses that plagued almost every round. He was missing short putts. And at one point, I think he missed a short one early today. And I was thinking about it. It's like he's missed at least like 6 putts inside of 6 feet. And he's 2 under right now. He'd be at 8 under if it wasn't for those putts. Like when you're really sharp, you just, you know, you see this all the time on tours. Like this guy is leading the tournament. He hasn't missed a putt inside 10 feet this week. You know, if you just, there's a certain thing with Rory and a player of like Rory's ilk. Scottie missed a lot of short putts this week too. So he could be in the same bucket. Like Scottie, I feel like Scottie played well enough from tee to green to win this event by like 5 or 6 shots. With Rory, I thought he played well enough to be in the mix, but he had just like some critical, like the first round was just a killer in terms of like he played outstanding golf tee to green. He had the chip shot on 17 was killer, all the short misses. And then he had a few more short misses peppered in over the weekend. And it's like, there's the term. That's the difference between finishing T40 and being, you know, what we talked about. Like all you want to do is be in the arena on Sunday afternoon and have a shot to win. Have a chance. Like today's tournament it's wide open and whoever plays the best on the back nine is going to win. And Ryan Fox did it. And that's the thing with Rory was he was just sloppy and he wasn't there.
He had some good shots in the press conference too, not just on the golf course. Those were maybe his best shots of the week. Saturday night. Do you think more people agree with them or disagree with them? It's a very subjective, unanswerable question.
About the golf course?
No.
Or about Bryson?
Yeah.
I think more people agree with him than disagree. He's just the only one that has reached the don't give a F standing in the game. If this was
Bryson, it's Bryson.
Players sounding off. Somebody should go to the Champions Tour event next week and just get them all to ask them all about Bryson and what they think, because they are all at the age where they don't care what other people think of them.
Okay, yeah. It's just I don't know. Everybody knows and thinks a certain way, and I know he has a very rabid online fan base, but that doesn't mean he's a bad person. He's just clearly phony. I don't know. Rory also, I think unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, sort of didn't gloss the new course changes as good. So it didn't play like a links course. I'm paraphrasing. All the severe runoffs, the elevated greens. It just basically didn't play. It wasn't links golf. It was at least a lot less like links golf compared to being here last time in 2017. Seems like an issue if, the links golf course is changed and then it doesn't play like links golf. This is in Rory's POV. And by the way, I should add, maybe had some of the most pristine links conditions you will get. And with the turf, there wasn't wind, but with the turf being what it's been, and not having some deluge of rain the week of or during the tournament in the summer they've had, that seems like kind of an indictment of the changes. And maybe those changes weren't necessarily made, just in talking to some people here, were made with the thought that it would be this firm. But then I think that's also an indictment of the changes, because, right? I mean, if the golf course and a links can't play when they get it like perfecto conditions for links golf firmness, then maybe those aren't great changes either. I personally found the venue to be great. I found some of those holes to be exciting. I know they were architecturally came with some controversy and critique, but some of them were amusing for me and enjoyable.
I enjoy the week. I thought the 15th hole was humorous and how hard it was and challenging to hit. Overall, I think like the big question I would have if I'm Mark Darbin, and I run the RNA, my question would be, and this is like should be anybody's question, is how many times are we going to hire a group of architects that consistently have to have their work redone after we stage our biggest championship on their new work? And that would be my big question. I don't think their work on the old course that I saw this year is going to be celebrated next year, which, defaming the old course and is just like a whole new level of kind of malpractice. And I think just like, to me, the shaping, I don't want to talk about this too much, but to me, and it's probably better suited for an article of some sort, the shaping, the level of projects that the architects that are administering this work are getting, and the quality of work don't match up. As someone who looks at golf architecture quite a bit and visits a lot of the great golf courses in the world, I can unequivocally say that I don't think that the shaping work is up to snuff for the great cathedrals of the game that these people get to work on. And that's an opinion. That's what I think of it, having seen a good amount of their work. And I would say, like, in their praise, like, they've done great work at places like Royal County Downs, the Ansley course. I think the work they've done around the Open Rota has been pretty lackluster, and it's just evidenced by all these places redoing the work as soon as the tournament's over.
Do you think this played well for an Open Championship? I've obviously been gone off a few times this week about like not having a ton of time to talk about shaping and tie-ins and those things. While I understand that that is a point that should be a discourse somewhere. Do you think that they played decently? Rory doesn't seem to think so from those comments, or is suggesting it wasn't maybe.
You saw it with like 5, right? Where like, what do you want to make this drivable par 4, but like, was it really drivable?
It was like put it in the neighborhood, but not.
All you're trying to do is get an upper door. Yeah,
yes.
I think like the other issue with that was like, you look at the scatter plots, and that this is what they'll say is they can't wait to dive into the scatter plots. It's like, okay, we created binary decisions. You hit it here or you hit it here. And some of the greatest holes in the world, and like, I think what you're trying to do is like have a lot of gray. It shouldn't just be black or white, right? The golf thrives in the gray. I think the venue is really cool. I enjoyed watching golf here. The conditions gave it so much pop, but if we had wind, it would have been really spectacular. Overall though, like Birkdale, I'm excited to go play it. I think it's a shame when somebody works on these golf courses when they can't get the new stuff to look like the old stuff. Like that's kind of part of the job, is to get a golf course to feel cohesive together. And whatever is causing that misconnect, because the work they did at the old course looks the same way. It's like, wait a second, like, what the hell is that? Like, why was that built there? Like, how did this come out like this? Who signed off on this? And I think that's the issue with their work, is like, frankly, like it just has no quality control. So anyways, I don't want to talk any more about this on this podcast, but
it was a good championship venue, but maybe there were some
great venue. Great venue.
It's going to come back. It's going to be here and should be here, and it's the right kind of locale. And I don't know, maybe someone else will work on it. Maybe they'll do it differently. I found the finish to be pretty exciting.
Did you see Bob Mack's comments about the golf course?
More gorse. They need more gorse bushes.
Well, he made a point of like, and this is something that architects should think about, is like, okay, and maybe they'll say there wasn't enough wind or whatever. But, effectively, like, if you hit it by distance, like, I'm paraphrasing Bob Mack here, you have to contend with everything. And, this is a golf course that spent millions of pounds overhauling the entire golf course. And Bob McIntyre laid it out. He's like, basically, like, if you hit it at a certain distance, you could just bypass all the bunkers, all the hazards, all the issues. And if somebody's going to overhaul the whole golf course, these are things that should be considered. It kind of goes back to, like, I mean, I don't want to run down the litany of things that have happened, but like, okay, so they redid Portrush, and the 7th green was an utter disaster. It got renovated right after the 19 Open Championship. They renovated Hoylake, 17th hole, brand new golf hole. That got blown up, and members were skipping the hole. All the word this week out of it was, okay, so they renovated the 15th here this week, and that hole is going to get everything said pre-tournament was that hole is going to get reworked this season. Like, how many times does this happen? Like, the work they did on at the old course is a disaster. It looks completely out of place compared to all the other stuff. So it's like, how many times are you going to do this song and dance before something changes?
What do you think about?
You're just flushing down the toilet. The RNA loves to talk about, like, oh, like, look at all the money we're making for all our initiatives. Look at all the money you're wasting. Also,
that's a theme from this year. Certainly with Mark Darbin on Wednesday is, Martin Dempster had reporting from Scotland that they're changing or would like to change the 5th hole at Muirfield for crowd control, so that they can have more fans, or crowd flow, not control. And, we've seen that repeatedly here, whether it's from 13 to 14, where that was a choke point. I can say, like, crowd control is tough. It's not good. It's not a good situation, especially when you get dunes land like this and you're like just on the side of these slippery fescue dunes. And it is important. And the RNA will say, well, changing the 5th hole a lot, we'll pay for, X amount of programs, whether it's amateur, whether it's grow the game, whether it's opening up golf in new locales and new parts of the world. And we make so much money on this week that we should probably try to change a golf hole on 100-year-old links. It's like, they are quick to point that out. And Joel Beal had a great article about how has it lost its soul a little bit. And I think that's been his tension at all the majors this year. Obviously with the Masters, people got really worked up about the merch halls and the, what it was, a Kevin Hart and all these things that, like, and then the US Open had, scaled down, quite honestly. Like, we're going to lose money and leave millions of dollars on the table, scaled down at Shinnecock. And then it became another focus here at the Open about, are you changing courses for a 1-week event? And that 1-week event is probably doing a lot of financial good for the game that these organizations, especially the USGA and RNA, are trying to propose and put forth. And then you have the PGA Tour, of course, taking on a for-profit model. So like that has been a theme throughout the year. And it feels a little sacrilegious to there's a couple points of view. Like people say like, oh, you are clutching your pearls and being a complete dork if you're holding onto a golf hole when money made at gate could grow the game or provide champion. Like that is the balance that they will put forth. Now, could there be some middle ground where you don't have to change a golf course and figure out how to finance things or make more money a different way? Probably. That's sort of the tension that was clear this week. And I think the R&A will cite these are all member-driven changes for golf courses. Member-driven. Member, we can't tell members how to change their clubs. It's their club. But the obvious rebuttal is like if they want to uphold the Open, they can decide whether the Open comes there or not. And sometimes, if they want an Open,
there's a reason that Martin Ebert and Tom McKenzie work at every single potential Open Rota course. And if they want to squash the narrative of that you can hold an Open championship without working with these architects, then they should actually hold an Open championship at a golf course that they don't work with.
Yeah, that was certainly. I don't want to feel like we're talking about this too much, but we just had an Open at a golf course that changed something on every single hole, more or less, member driven or otherwise, and a lot of it was to, whether it was to improve play for members, but some of it for sure was to have the Open and change the test there. So that was a big theme for the week. What else do you have coming out of this? Do you feel like...
Would you want to talk about Bryson anymore? How do you feel like it ended for Bryson? Obviously, flamed out today.
Lost ball at 11.
Lost ball 11, the triple bogey that kind of took him completely out of it. It felt like it for a while today. He was just hanging around. And it's like, I think a lot of guys on the leaderboard, Bryson also, like, if you would have told Bryson that 10 under got it done while he was in the middle of his temper tantrum on Friday, I think he probably would have just shut up, conserved some energy, and been like, all right, I'll take my penalty and I'm ready to go. I think the scoring caught a lot of people off guard today, him being one of them.
The more challenging course conditions. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if it's a coincidence that the wind picked up and Bryson got shipped out to sea. That's the other thing.
Well, that's the other thing. The Portrush wind last year was so for an Open for Portrush, and then it wasn't existent this week. And so we're like, he's cracked the code. Links Golf, he's cracked the code. I think it probably requires a little closer examination. Look, we've done nightly podcasts on Bryson. It feels like he's probably the biggest story or most memorable moment taken away from this week, given the comments around it. Is there some sort of longer tail where enforcement changes? Probably not on the PGA Tour. I initially thought it was an odd choice to make him to decide to, enforce the rule there. That was my surprise. I don't think it was necessarily wrong to penalize him. The one thing I've thought about more as like the 2 days have gone on, and we did a podcast literally live as it was happening. We started it not knowing it was going to happen at all. Is how kind of like thinking back on it, how silly and like stupid the whole show afterwards was. And that's just, as the week has gone on, it's just like, I had a lot of fun with it as someone who talks about this stuff and reading KVV's tweets from the scene. But it was just silly bullshit at the end of the day and unnecessary. And, if he's a showman and that was a moment to put on a show, so be it. But that's sort of the thing that sunk in a little bit more of like, that was really stupid, all that stuff afterwards. Doesn't mean it was harmful or wrong in any way. It felt like kind of stupid.
It was silly. I think like the whole antics of it. I think also the R&A though was a piece of this too. Like,
what did they do?
Just entertaining it. It should have just been like, hey, this is it. This is the deal. You're being penalized. And like the fact they went back out there, I think like there was some like letting the player state his case. The wording in the thing about accidental, which I think covers their bases like a lot, and it also protects Bryson.
So unnecessary.
Well, it protected Bryson. That's what it was. And it's like, I don't think you have to, but if you don't put it in there, then people are going to be like, oh, Bryson's a cheater. And I think like what that the accidental wording was put in there because they know that this is a common occurrence in the game of golf and that people do this all the time. And they did not want to put that stigma on Bryson. Now, like my greater point was like, at a certain point, you need to close the door and say, hey, you're getting penalized. You can decide if you're playing tomorrow, but we're going to send out tee times.
Yeah, I think the aftermath was a little goofy, and that's sort of the held hostage stuff. I talked to Patrick Reed today on the record about it. He ended up saying he thought it was handled correctly in the end. So you just got to be really careful. Just, interesting. I thought he was very mature and wide-ranging in his comments to me, but, obviously he's had to navigate that before. And I also asked like a handful of people like, hey, do you think this is like a big problem or not a big problem, more prevalent? And they don't seem to think it is. Players. I don't think that's a commonly held view that guys are intentionally or unintentionally, and they would always say unintentional, like, oh, you get so locked into your book or you get locked into like looking around and you might unintentionally step behind or like
your book.
You think I got that today, or you think you're playing one shot one way and you're all of a sudden you're changing directions and you accidentally did something. So they would never say intentionally. But the reaction was it's not really a problem as much as you think, as much as Twitter would say, as much as maybe we would say here. Why do you think that is? Because they all do it.
I
and
think
they don't
everybody
want to
wants to just protect. It's politics. It's locker room. And I think like to a certain extent, you have to have the mentality of everybody's out there protecting the field, just to deal with the mental strain of golf. Like, I think if you thought the worst of people, then your head would go places when you got there, Yeah,
I think some deference is owed the professional golfers who do this every single week. Scott, I'll say this for Scottie's point. He's the one who does seem to think it's a little bit more, saying we need to be more strict in the way we're policing this. And maybe that's, he just likes to use the word police, but he was somebody that said, like, we need to be more strict about how we're policing it. While others was like, it's not really a problem. Lie manipulation. But this was certainly a big week for that, and a moment that the reaction of it, the scene, the sort of circus act on Friday, probably one of the big takeaways from Birkdale. It certainly added a lot of intrigue for us.
I mean, it felt like the RNA said we need to take this more seriously with their penalty. And I thought it, all of a sudden the way people maneuvered around the ball the rest of the weekend was a lot more like the way that they should maneuver around a golf ball.
Good on the RNA for standing up. And I don't think the other, not necessarily every major or organization or tour would have the stones to do it. When it's a star, even if he is controversial or maybe not beloved, and the star is one shot off the lead. So I do think we should applaud the RNA stones to try and do it, whether you thought it was right or
not. Anybody that you were today particularly disappointed with that we haven't talked about? I wasn't disappointed with Lucas Herbert. I wasn't disappointed with Ryan Gerard. I wasn't necessarily disappointed with Siwoo's fade on the back nine. Anyone that you didn't rise to the moment?
It got harder. I would have loved to seen a little bit more from Tommy Fleetwood. He shot 68. I guess I can't say he like gagged, but that was just felt like another one where if you told him, you might have a chance coming down the stretch, he bogeys 10 and 11. Those just, you can't do that. Like he gets in the mix and then immediately bogeys 10 and 11. I found the Tommy story to be really compelling, and it sounds like they overdid that on the broadcast, maybe like too many interviews with Tommy. I thought listening to him was really powerful this week. I think, Tommy, for me, they asked him Saturday, like, have you thought about this or dreamt about it? I was like, since I was 7 years old, like, this is everything. This is all I've dreamt about. Like, this is the best. And I think he walked out of here this week saying, like, I didn't win, but this will be an experience. Like, these people have given me more than I could ever ask for. You talk often about how, like, for a lot of golfers, this is a job, right? And it's just like they don't necessarily like golf. I think Tommy's pretty well balanced. Like, we're all really lucky when like our profession is also our passion, right? Like, I don't know if a ton of people are like super passionate about private equity or super passionate about accounting or stuff like that. But some golfers aren't balancing passion and profession anymore either. And I think for Tommy, like, that Venn diagram is pretty close to a circle. Like, he is passionate about this, and this is super rewarding and gives a lot back to him. And he seems to have that perspective. He seems to have that, like, I love being a golfer and I love the opportunity to just play here. And I love the memory of being able to play here. And so I think he feels really like not too detached from having made so much money and having the life that he has, from being like feeling really, really like passionate and fortunate to do this. And so that was one of the big takeaways. I watched him roll in the 60-footer, 90-footer. It depends on who you've read today at one. And it was super cool at the moment. I think, like, I don't know, the live stuff has just gotten so tedious, right? Like, I just don't like money. I like don't care anymore. And I think we've moved a little bit past that with like Rory winning the Masters last year, Aaron Rise win, like Scottie's soliloquy last year about like, why do I don't know why I do this. Like, why it's finding meaning in why I do this and why I want to win these so bad. Like, totally just has nothing to do with the business of golf. And for me, that like really resonated with Tommy this week, of someone who, like, I do this because I love it and I feel super fortunate to have these skills. And for me, that's been like a notable moment at majors where it's felt very different from all the other PGA Tour golf, and kind of 6 years of tedium about one, live, two, like, how is the PGA Tour changing or restructuring? And so that was something like just listening to a however old man talk about like, this is all I've ever dreamed about. And it's been the best to even just be here to realize this in any way, shape, or form, this thing that I've thought about for 30 years. So anyways, that's my Tommy soliloquy, I suppose, after watching him and listening to him for a lot, but just felt like he could have shown out a little harder on the back nine.
It's hard. You got to hit the shots, and it was tough conditions. And, frankly, like, sometimes you just don't have your A+ game, and I don't think he did, and you don't win a major when you don't have it. I think like too much is made of like, oh, he didn't show up when, I guess it is your game not showing up, but it's hard to just summon. It's not like you just summon your A game every week. And I think there is
anybody for you be a house cat? How about Russ Henley?
I'll tell you who I was disappointed most in was NBC, Tommy Roy. If I have to hear him described as the great Tommy Roy again, I will use this Open Championship as my tape to say This is the opposite of great. What a disaster this week's coverage was for us Americans. I know about the world feed. I feel like I was one of the people that tipped people off of the world feed option years ago. And this week I was like, I'm just going to stay committed to watching what everybody, for the most part, our podcast audience watches. This morning, I just couldn't do it again. I felt like I just had no feel of what was going on. As commercial after commercial was jammed down my throat. And then like, on top of it, like, it's a terrible presentation. They were off on graphics. They were off on facts. They had an insane commercial load. And then on top of it, you just don't even get analysis is the other issue. Coming down, and I'll use this as an example. Coming down the stretch, Siwoo Kim is squarely in the mix. And on 16, he's playing from, I think, maybe just barely rolled into the short rough. Great angle. He's playing at his approach shot into 16, and that pin's stuffed over on the right side of the green, and he misses right. And he misses right, and they're like, oh, he missed right. And it's like, that's it. And it's like, wait a second. This was one of the most impactful shots of the tournament right there. Could we get a little bit of analysis? Like, that is the worst place he could have missed it. That was a horrible shot. That under the circumstances, that was a terrible shot and is likely going to cost him the tournament. And sure enough, he chips it to like 25 feet. And I can't remember whether it was an even or an odd hole. I think it was an even hole. So I think it was Kisner because he was calling 18. And he's just like, well, that was a tough spot he was in. And, it wasn't that bad given where he was. Well, you missed the whole setup of like, he literally flushes, like he went for the pin. And he missed in the exact wrong spot, and he flushed his tournament chances down the drain with that shot. That's what the discourse should be. So, like, my issue, I was texting with a friend about this, and I think, like, they summed it up really well, is on top of just the litany of things I listed before, the analysis is never anything. It's just, they're just telling you what you're seeing. There's nothing else there. And that is my issue with NBC. I think this whole thing needs to be blown up. They've got like a lot of like, I like a lot of people that work for them. I like Kevin Kisner. I like Bones. I like Faxon. I like Smiley. I think they all, but all of them together right now is not working. And it's like it's a total disservice to golf fans. And it's people look at the golf like, oh, it's growing so much in all these areas. One of the reasons it's not growing, at the same rate in terms of golf coverage, is that this coverage, this was laughable. It was such an embarrassment, especially like when you compare it to like the way you get to watch soccer, where it's like, oh, like I just like this is like uninterrupted for like 30 minutes. NLU was tracking this. There were 6 commercial breaks in the last hour in 33 minutes as they were coming down the stretch. 6 commercial breaks in 33 minutes. It was like 2 shots commercial. It was just Mickey Mouse crap.
Well, I had a blast on the ground.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I saw it. I would say you're not really the boy who cried wolf on the coverage stuff.
No.
I would say you get worked up occasionally, but very rarely are you like declarative and use big words like disaster, embarrassment, things like that. I saw a few of your tweets. I was like, wow, it must be pretty bad if Andy's like going to public with that kind of language. Because you save it for when it is bad. I find that really befuddling. I think they're towards the end of a rights deal here. I know the Open cares a lot about how it's presented in America right now. I think they're sort of befuddled. They're flabbergasted that it's not. It needs to be elevated more in America. Doesn't sound like this is really
commercial loads unbearable. And then on top of that, the analysis is just so. It's like I get not wanting to speak over people. I get the idea golf's a tough, but like you have to give people that are watching something that they say, you know what? I didn't really know that. Like, I didn't know that, and that's cool.
Yeah. That sucks because it's like really one of the best majors. It's such a fun major to consume on television and in person. And so, I don't know. Mark Darbin's a new chief. I think their rights are coming up in a couple of years. I know there are some constraints about world feed, but like you can still choose the commercials. You got to take the commercials when that's a business decision. And that sounds super frustrating to watch for an event that's so beloved by the golf fans, golf nuts, right?
What's insane to me,
people in the boat already.
What's insane to me as someone who consumes way too much of the Open every year, not way too much. I love watching it.
4 a.m. though, watching.
But the telecast gets worse the more the crew gets elevated with this tournament. Like Sam Torrance is amazing in the morning, in the early hours of the morning. Furyk was great. I think like one of their big issues is that they have way too many guys. Like this like, every other whole thing does not work at all. There's no continuity. There's nothing. Like I think it's actually insane the more I think about the every other hole. Like, and this is why
it's been that way since they announced it for Pinehurst or whatever.
I don't want to shoot somebody off into the sun, but this was supposed to be some great innovation. Like they released this like this was some amazing innovative idea. Like, can I just make a comparison? Imagine if you were watching a fucking basketball game or a football game and they switched announcers every quarter and the other announcer didn't watch the first quarter and they were trying to call the game. This is the most idiotic on the face decision ever. And I can't believe that we're like 3 years into this. It's a disaster. It's awful. It's awful. And I like, this is the thing. I don't think any of the personalities at NBC are to blame. It's the people that are running this. They're putting them out there. That they just put them out there to look like a bunch of idiots. Who would ever construct the idea that you're going to watch half the holes, but not in sequential order?
And then
you're going to watch the other half of the holes, and that's the way it's going to work.
This is the arrangement where, just for clear, Hicks and Kisner call the evens.
Gannon and Fax call the odds.
Yeah. It's just insane. It's been that way. It just seems crazy. Maybe try it. I think Pinehurst was the first one. I don't know. I've always wondered, like, when do they cut? Like, when does it flip? When the guy like crosses the tee box, are you now in his possession of that call? Because now he's on an odd. Like, there's no.
It would work if any sport sequentially happened in a vacuum. But the key to all sports is tying the threads between all these moments that happen throughout the game.
Narrative arc, yeah.
So if you decide between Faxon or Kisner, which it seems like they can't decide between Faxon or Kisner, then like
you might split the baby.
If you can't decide, then you're not the guy for the job. Because both of them look worse because of the situation you're putting them in.
Well, and now it's compounded by the issue that Golf Channel is no longer the same company just as NBC. Just the golf presentation is compounded.
McGinley comes in too. I forgot
so
about
Faxon
that.
can't.
Like
I don't think
McGinley in there.
Faxon and Kisner can't work the start of the week. It's just, yeah, it's compounded by that. Furyk, I think, can only do Golf Channel. I could be wrong. Maybe he's NBC, but like they're different companies now.
Of course, Furyk in there too.
He's Golf Channel. I think he's just golf. Like I can't. There are two walls. So I didn't watch any of it. So I thought it was perfectly fine. I have no criticism whatsoever. I love NBC or whatever it was. Peacock.
Well,
sounded rough.
You know what? Like actually became the thing to do online. It was like, I mean, like people
pirated world
I'm
feed.
just going to tell you that people that are literally work in broadcast were online suggesting everybody go to Peacock and turn on Sky Sports if you don't like this. The coloring of the golf course was different. It's insane. It's honestly insane. I found it insane that on Sunday morning of the Open Championship, the last day of major championship golf in America or across the world, and in America, the rights partner, like literally people are suggesting go watch Sky Sports feed because it's available on Peacock. That was the suggestion. Also, storyline nobody's talking about. Tweeting through it while we're on broadcast. I love that Kisner's out there on Twitter in between his breaks. Maybe when they're on odd holes, he's out there tweeting at people
on odd holes. Well, that's maybe he's got an odd hole situation. You can go to Twitter.
We're through all the playing throughs while he has PJ put in the caption here, tweeting through it. While we're playing through, it was tweeting through it for Kisner.
That's good. Any other storylines?
Peach, do you have any? Did I miss anything with the broadcast?
No. I think you summed it up pretty good today. I mean, it was I much like you. I was just watching NBC because I wanted to be aware of what the discourse was. I didn't want to miss anything. Yeah, there was a lot going on today. Not a lot of it good.
Seems bad. Peach, what do you think about Cameron Young? Were you believing on the front nine? Were you believing then when nobody could get to nine?
I just figured we would push this to Wednesday or whatever. Yeah, I was believing, certainly on the front nine. I was like really believing. The miss on 10, there was a handful of missed putts that obviously in a one shot deficit would have been the difference. I think the miss on 10 really. That one was important at the end of the day to kind of keep the momentum going because it kind of stalled out a little bit from there. But yeah, I mean, great effort, great run. I think it's easy to point.
Are we worried?
40 on the back nine yesterday. Easy to point that out at this moment in time, but made an effort. Unlike if I could just like gesture broadly at most of the rest of the leaderboard. Making an effort, I think, is a win of itself today. Am I worried? Like, I mean, yeah,
really good at being 3 and second.
I was going to say, I said to Andy, I said, what if it just doesn't happen and he piles up a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s? Like, I mean, it's possible.
I know it's going to happen.
I hate to do this. I hate to be cheeky here, but honestly, the way the major played out, it was like a clever fox stealing the prize.
Yeah, kind of coming right in.
Kind of just
coming. The
just
British
hung
radio
in there, and
like
then had his best play at the end.
And deserved it, like undoubtedly.
Well, everybody was shouting about Bryson, and then Scottie's drop, and then he just kind of sneaks in like a fox.
In our text thread, I thought the Cam's decision on 18 in the moment was really bad.
I was surprised by it, especially when like the last thing they laid out, Smiley laid out, and the last thing you could hear Cam say was, "I just have to make sure I get this over the lip," and then just immediately getting Matumbo'd was like pretty bad. I think it was just a mishit more than a bad decision per se, but. I think if you tell him that 10 wins or gets in a playoff, maybe doesn't happen differently. He said he would hit driver again in a playoff. So
I don't have an issue with the driver. I have an issue with that number one rule is like number one, you get out of the bunker.
Yeah. And
in that moment, I just felt like if you get that thing up to the front of the green, you're getting up and down. And that's what I don't know. And there's the whole other theory of like if he gets to 10, I don't know if Fox gets to 10.
Yeah,
needing a birdie on 18 to tie.
Need a birdie, or like it's just like when you
12
when you start to feel like you have to put your foot on the gas.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like the number being 9 made it so much more attainable for all those guys that were chasing, like Burns, like
And
you know.
Yeah, Burns. I mean, I felt like he was just like mentally, I had just ruled him out for most of the back 9, and then you look up and it's like, oh, it's only really one shot he has to get, and he just couldn't end up doing it. But I think being in the house at 10 would have made like a big difference. It kept all of these guys in punching distance. And again, Foxy went out and took it like that.
Can I, I think it wasn't a great day for Burns. I think unequivocally the biggest loser of the weekend is Bryson, though. Don't you think? I think the way he played, I think after the show, maybe in his mind, aren't you like disappointed with how he played this, especially on Sunday?
I mean, I said in our text thread, I think Joseph nailed it. I think he ran out of gas. I think he was on empty today. I didn't think he had a chance.
He was a non-factor, and he might probably be the most memorable moment from this major and the most talked about in his cultural moment. But I thought he was a house cat all weekend after doing the show on Friday night, which is pretty disappointing. And I contrast it with what I just said about Tommy. He just feels like the opposite of all that, of being genuinely like, yeah, just leaving it at that, genuine and super moved and appreciative. It just feels like a manufactured show, and he didn't show up. I thought, like, when you talk about disappointed
that's
players,
kind of
I
been
think he's up
Bryce's
there.
story, though. He hasn't shown up on the weekends since Pinehurst.
Whether you like him or not, that was like a failure of a weekend. Coming back with the 69, pretty strong Saturday, but
I just think the difference between like being extremely competitively sharp and not being sharp, like at this level, at the highest level in the game, the difference between sharpness is how you put together 4 rounds. Sam Burns is sharp as shit. He put together a tournament. Yeah, he fell short. Oh, but he put together a tournament. Bryson didn't put together 4 rounds, and that's to be expected for somebody that doesn't really play competitive golf. Like, yeah, you can play 2 good rounds, 2.5 good rounds, 3. I think even he played 3 good rounds, but to win a major, you have to play 4 really good rounds of golf. That's what Ryan Fox did. To an extent, Cameron Young had 1 bad 9 holes, which is like what you can have and win a major is legitimately you can play 1 bad 9. And that's usually like you could go down the list of like, okay, somebody played 9 bad holes. They had a 4-hole stretch that killed them. Cameron Young Saturday afternoon is going to be the thing that he loathes more than anything, more than shot on 18. It's going to be the thing that he looks back and it is going to kill him. But for Bryson, he just did not get off the bus today at all. And he played a bad round, and you're not going to win. You're not going to win anything playing your worst round on Sunday, generally.
If you want to be the center of attention, and maybe like he wants to be the center of attention in other ways, and that's it. It feels like you got to get off the bus if you want to be the center of attention. I'm not trying to like take shots at him, but
back to Cameron Young. Do you know how many top 4s in majors he has now?
At least like 4, I want to say. What is it? 5?
Are you waiting for me to answer?
5.
I think it's 5.
He's got 5.
Okay.
5 top 4s. Obviously, tons of close calls. Third, I think this is his 3rd top 4 in Opens. No,
at the Open.
Second
Old Course.
Second runner-up at the Open. So
interesting.
Just he's gonna get across the line in one of these things. Do we want to run through storylines nobody's talking about?
What's left? What do we have?
Just have a handful. This one I take exception to you calling him a house cat. He went out. Russell Henley earned that yellow square today. Yellow school bus. Henley makes sure everyone gets home safely with a Wikipedia T9. He earned that thing, man. Really put the pedal to the metal on the bus today. Making all the stops. Earned.
I was on the eighth green looking at the scoreboard with the fellow journalist, and I saw Henley come into like top 5, or he was like 6 or something, and we just started laughing. Like, well, he's there, but he's not going to win. Very yellow square, but never worried about it.
Happy trails. Bryson heads home in high spirits after consecutive top 15s in the Open. Nobody's talking about, hey, look at this guy. He's played 2 good Opens in a row. No, that's not the story we're leaving with, huh?
You take that form to JCB or whatever, Live UK next week.
Up next, Prepare the Shield. This was a huge week for the P Cup. Huge week for the international squad. 8 international eligible players in the top 14 of the Open. Tom Kim wins last week. Are we getting, is this like how well the Europeans were playing ahead of last year's Ryder Cup? Brendan, what are your thoughts on this?
They've got a lot of guys doing well. I mean, there's been years where this has happened. And then they get boat raced, mollywopped, or whatever at the when the matches come around. I asked Brendan DeYoung if Richard Sterney should be on the team, his former teammate at Muirfield Village, 2013. He looked at me curiously and said, "No, you guys go back, right? You were a teammate. He won this year because he'd done anything else." It's like, I'm not sure, but he won. So that he should be on the team,
right?
Yes,
I think he has to auto qualify
for winning a major,
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Speaking of Foxy, the fastest man alive, Renato Paratore gets called out in Fox's interview after the round about the only player that he's ever played with who's faster pace of play wise than him. I'd love, you know what would be a dream? Just like a fever dream. Ryan Fox and Renato Paratore finish, like make the cut on the number and are out first in a major championship. And it's like Saturday morning at Augusta, and you can go loop the whole course, know exactly what's going on, and 240, with those two.
I'm happy for Renato Paratore getting a positive moment in the sun in the last men's major of the year. It's kind of like the reverse Wyndham Clark, his stamping down behind the ball. Like, why are you dragging me into this? The opposite. Paratore getting his run.
You said a moment in the sun. That brings us to the duel in the sun. Jordan Smith blows out Jordan Spieth in their annual battle for the top Jordan-esque.
Seems like
blowout.
Seems like Spieth is no longer going to Minnesota.
Well, we're going to get to that right here.
Decommitted. Jordan Spieth will not play the 3M after committing earlier in the year.
Like a week ago. It wasn't that long ago. I think
he's making any changes.
I brought this up on Friday?
Friday. I was listening.
I don't, but it's just rare in golf. You go from the very best player in the world to 8 years of sort of meh and not change a coach, caddy, anybody, agent, anything. I'm not saying his people are bad. It's just that would be a trend that happens. So I don't think he's changed anything. He seems really loyal. Good storylines. Nobody's talking about. We're on to the 3M Open.
Hey, Peach, did you tally Gabe within the game?
I didn't. We'll do that for Wednesday.
All right, we'll clean up Wednesday.
Any other parting shots? This has been a great men's major year. We had fun doing these live shows. Great to be here.
You'll be off the next one because you're traveling back from abroad, I assume.
I'm traveling Wednesday.
I think we're going live Wednesday. Wednesday morning. Me, PJ, and Joseph. Me and the boys.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, we're letting you know now on air.
Why aren't we recording Tuesday?
Just obligations. Maybe Tuesday. Maybe a Tuesday report.
Whatever. I haven't heard about this. All right, we'll talk about it. It's been a great men's major year. Really enjoyed doing it again. 8th year doing these on Shotgun Start 2019.
Years of dailies.
Yeah,
I texted you. I don't think I'm missing another daily after
Bryson.
missing the Bryson one.
If you're just listening now, go back. Listen to Friday night, Bryson. Saturday was fun. You came in, had some good Bryson takes. Been a great week. Great year doing these at the men's majors. We'll be back. Thank you for listening, supporting. It's obviously a privilege to do this. So when you listen, that we are very grateful for that. Grateful to Mercedes sponsoring again this year. We'll be back with you guys on Wednesday.